Hi everyone, my name's Michelle and I'm Mama Loves You GB here on FlossTube, but also on Instagram and Etsy as well. This is FlossTube number 85 because I checked properly this time, and it is the 14th of August, so that's two pieces of information that I've definitely got right, unlike last week where I managed to get the video number wrong. And I've already been waffling on for about 5 minutes without starting the camera. So you're gonna have to forgive me if I think I've said something and then I haven't. So first of all I'm going to tell you a couple of things I'm not going to do this week. I'm not going to do the giveaway winners. I just haven't had time today. I will explain what I've been up to a bit later on. And I'm also not going to share with you something that I've been sent in the post. I'm going to save that for next week. I get quite a few emails of companies asking me to review a product or feature a product on my channel, and 9 times out of 10 I say no. Sometimes I don't even know what product it is they're asking me to look at. Other times it's a cross-stitch thing and I go on and look on their site and the first thing I see is a dimensions kit in 11 count printed, and I'm like, no, you don't own that. I'm not even considering it. But one company messaged me and said, we'd like to send you a treat box, which just perked my ears up straight away. Food, you want to send me food? Okay. And so it's a company that will send you a box of snacks from a different country each month. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. So I've had my first box, it literally came today. So I'm going to take some photos of it and then we'll decide over the coming week via Instagram what we're going to have a go at trying live on air. So I'm quite excited about that. I think that's quite a good idea. And I've totally lost my train of thought because I've already done this once. So what am I going to do? I've told you what I'm not going to do. I've got my whips to show you. I've got my red samplers to show you, which are now out. You saw them last week, but I'm going to show you the little pin cushion that I made today and give you a sort of a preview of the chart pack if you want to get it. I've got another sampler, my Fella collection sampler is here, so I've got that to show you. I've got quite a bit of haul, mostly charts. Yeah, so that's all the sorts of things that I have got. I've also got an open window tonight, and I think most of the flying critters in Pembrokeshire have just come in. So we shall see. If I get dive bombed by things, we shall see. Before I get started though, I just want to say happy cross stitch day to everybody. That was yesterday. And also a big thank you to all my subscribers, and to those of you who are new, I hope you're going to find something that you like. For those of you that have been with me for a while, thank you for sticking around. Through all my waffle, thank you for sticking around. Right, okay, what have I been working on? I've only been working on 2 things this week, I think. I sat down to try and work out what to bring up, and I think it's only 2 things because I think a lot of the time I've been faffing about with my red samplers. So one of them is something that you've already seen, as I've been working on, and one of them is a start and a finish. So this is what I've been working on quite a bit. I had the outline last week of the bottom section, so I'm just basically filling in the books along the bottom. I've got potions and spells, and the middle one says something different, and I can't remember what it is. This is by Tiny Modernist. It's called, I'm doing really well today, aren't I? I didn't bring the sheet of paper up. The Halloween Crystal Ball or something like that. You can get it on their website. So this is parts 1 and 2, and the 3rd part will be out at the beginning of September. It's stitched on 32 count linen that I dyed myself, so I'm happy with that. Now the second thing that I've stitched, I actually stitched on the same piece of linen because I'm good at that. I just kind of, it's there and it's easy, and I get an idea and I think, oh, that'll look nice on the same piece. Now I'm taking my inspiration here from Laura, who is with Brenda and the Serial Starter. She is the Serial Starter. So she started and finished this last week, and I'd seen it on Notforgotten Farm's website, and I think I thought it was bigger than it was. So when she showed it, I was like, I love that. I could do that, no problem. And so it is called The Flight by Notforgotten Farm, and I forgot to bring up the chart cover, but I finished it so you can see what it looks like. And here it is now. Are all my little stars going to show up? Yeah, let's come a bit closer. So I've got the big scissors and then the spool of thread, and the spool of thread does have a little tail, and there's my sun, that's not a sun, that's a moon, and then my stars, and then my little bat. So I'm pretty pleased with her. Now she's not using the called for colours, and funny enough it doesn't use the called for stitches either. So look how big this is. This is accurate. This is accurate. There's not a mistake on that. This, I don't think there's a motif that's actually properly correct on it. So the scissors are 2 stitches too long. And I've just noticed actually, there's another mistake there. I'm not picking it out. That should be one higher up, but never mind. It can stay as it is. Because I counted the long one for the short one. So then when I added the length on there, it got even longer. So my spool is shorter and fatter than it should be. This little witch, I had to pick out the top part of her dress because it was half a stitch off. The moon's 1 stitch too low. And the stars, I just put them wherever I thought looked all right. But there we go. So own colours, own placement. But I'm really happy with it. It looks really super cool. And I want to finish it as a block, I think. I want to try one of those no-sew blocks. So that's what I'm going to go. I need to get some polystyrene, I know that. So I shall be hitting Amazon to see what I can find. So that is all the stitching that I have done this week. Now, before we move on to samplers, a little bit about my crazy day today. So, Ness's floor, the floorboards are going, and they've been going for quite a while, but now it's got to the point where you could walk across her floor and accidentally end up in the living room. So we've come to this decision that we need to fix the floorboards. No problem, so we're going to fix the floorboards. And then Chris just casually says to Ness, oh, we could redecorate your room while we're at it. You know, that sort of throwaway man comment. So I've been painting her room because Chris doesn't do painting. So she's chosen a purple. She's got a huge map on her wall at the moment, which when she was little, very tiny, she did peel it off, so it's not looking that great. So she wants to replace it. And she's seen one of those big murals, and it looks like a galaxy, a big nebula. So then she wants another wall purple. So it's all fine doing that, and I've started painting that today. So they went down to the river to go paddleboarding while I was doing the painting, and I kid you not, there was sweat dripping off me because it was so hot in her room. Anyway, they went down to the river, and I said, I'll come down to the river for tea. And so they'd taken the stove to make quesadillas. Lovely job. So I'm there led on the blanket next to Ness. Albus is there as well. Just about halfway through my dinner, Albus had his lead on this post, so he wasn't going anywhere. The next thing I know, he's peed in my dinner. He's peed in my dinner. Total accident. Absolute total accident. So he's gone round the other side of the pole that he's attached to, not realising my dinner is on the other side of the pole, and he's peed on the pole. Now, it wasn't his fault because he was tied to the pole, so he couldn't really go anywhere else. But I just didn't expect him to pee, and so he peed in my dinner. So that had to go in the bin, and it was really nice as well. So yeah, that was fun. Oh dear. Dogs and kids, eh? Who'd have them? Right, the red samplers. Thank you so much to everybody who's bought them so far. They really seem to have hit a fond spot, a really nice fond spot for everyone. So let me just recap for you and show you the last piece of the puzzle. So this is the chart pack that, is that all mine? Yeah. This is the chart pack that you will get, and I think it runs to 27 pages or something like that. each of the charts, if you don't want to stitch all of the charts in the pack, then you can just obviously download your chart and then print off what you want one at a time. You don't have to print the whole lot off. So as I showed you last week, and I've done mine double-sided, you get the picture, the information that I know, stitching guidelines, and then you get a chart. Now, just for saving paper, Fanny Lacey could really have had a black and white chart as well, because I know some people don't like the colour charts, they like just the black and white charts. But just to save paper, I didn't put the black and white chart in there. But if you purchase this and you really want Fanny Lacey in black and white, just send me a message and I will forward that to you. Okay, send me a message via Etsy and then I'll forward that to you. The others that are in here, May Modridge and M Hodgson, are just single colour charts. So I've done those in colour, but it doesn't really matter because they're just single colour charts. And then the last one you've got is the tiny pincushion that I made. And with this one, just hide that slightly there, I've given you some picture instructions about how I actually went about making it. So here it is. And it's absolutely teeny tiny. So I stitched this on 30 count Old Town Blend by R&R Reproductions, I think it was. And I beaded the edge, and I put, I wish you could see how sparkly those beads are, a little, that sounds really big. I don't like moths. A little vintage mother of pearl button on the top. There are a couple of little needles in there at the moment, but it is palm of the hand tiny. Now obviously if you don't want to stitch it over one, then you don't have to. It would look just as good over two or on whatever AD you wanted to. But as I say in the chart pack, or maybe I put it on Instagram, I saw a tiny little pincushion like this sell on eBay, and it was a genuine one from the 1800s, and it sold for several £100s. And ever since I saw it, I was like, I really want to make one like that. Now the design was different, the alphabet was different, partly because I didn't know who'd bought it. And so if the person who'd bought it had wanted to chart it for themselves, then it wasn't fair for me to just copy it. So I did something similar, but not the same. The colours are different, the font's different, but the principle of just having a teeny tiny little pincushion is the same. Now, in other news, I've had a couple of people contact me about this one. This is the M Hodgson 1858 sampler. And Mead School. I'd said last week I didn't know anything about Mead School, and nothing much was really coming up on the searches. Any schools that were coming up weren't around in the 1850s, or they were primary schools, and obviously she was 11. So a lady, Helen, contacted me and said that in Bristol there was a school called the Lewin Mead School, or Lewin's Mead School, which was a raggedy school set up by, now I can't remember, I think it was Mary Chambers, or it could be Mary Chalmers, but I think Mary Chambers. And she wondered whether Mead School could be short for Lewin's Mead School. And so I have asked on the Bristol Sampler group to see whether anybody has heard of this school or knows where I can find the records. And several people have got in touch. Nicola Parkman's helped me out, and somebody recommended this man who was very good with school records, and I contacted him, and he's already helped me out a little bit, despite the fact that he's on holiday with his family. He's already helped me out a little bit, and so I now know where I can access the records for Lewin's Mead School. So I'm going to see if I can find some more there. Somebody else mentioned another possibility of an M. Hodgson up in Westmoreland, but I'm not sure where the link is to the Mead School there, so I need to do a bit more digging. Sorry, there is something really quite big fluffing around over there. It's making me nervous. That would just cap off the day, having my dinner peed in and then getting attacked by a huge moth. So, if you didn't see last week, I'll just give you a quick show of all three samplers. So that's M. Hodgson. I need to find somewhere flat for her. May Modridge, who has already been started by a couple of people. May Modridge. And again, Becca from Stanbury Stitches was showing she had a sampler roll, and I need to get one or make one. And Fanny Lacey. Do you know what's really puerile? What's really puerile is that I always, every time I show Fanny Lacey, I always think of what her register, what her name would have looked like on the register. There we go. Puerile, puerile. There we go. So, if you would like the sampler pack, please do go and purchase it. It is £12 and you get all 4 charts for the £12. When I say it's £12, that's the price I've set on Etsy. It will then do its own thing for tax depending on which country you're in. So obviously in the UK it adds VAT to that, and then whatever tax you are in your own country, but it'll sort it out for you. Right, I've got a couple of new samplers as well. I'm going to save the fellow one just for a minute, and I'm going to show you this one. Now this one did come to me in a frame, but I took it out of the frame because I was curious. Now, let me get her the right way up. This is a sampler that's stitched in wool, and what really attracted me to this sampler were the colours, the stars, and the overall shape of it, because it's a longer, thinner one rather than a horizontal one. So if I come right back here, it's pretty big because it's stitched with wool, so it's not a dainty little Georgian sampler. So let's start, should we start at the bottom and work our way up? So we have Adam and Eve at the bottom and some orange deer, and then we have a beautiful tree, and then we have the cartouche with the Stitcher's name in it, which is very, very unclear. I had to get a magnifying glass on this. I found her, but she gave me trouble. And then the top. Now the things that I really liked about this were these stars. Ooh, that's a flying beetle. I'm not down with that. I might have to stop the video in a minute and get rid of that. That is these stars. I loved the cherries. Where are the cherries? There are the cherries on either side. And just the tree and the deer, I just loved everything about it. Now, this is, now I wrote this down, Elizabeth Jane Goninan. Now, what I had to do, I seriously might have to stop in a minute. What I had to do was literally just write down the letters as I thought they were for the surname, and just put that into Ancestry and see if it came up with anything, because it wasn't a surname that I'd heard of. And it's stitched in, now I forgot to write this down and the light's terrible in here, August 18, see, I think it's 1851. Oh yeah, age 10, 1851. There we go. So I found Elizabeth Jane Goninan, She was born in 1841, I'm just reading my little bit of note here, and died in 1920, and she's from Cornwall. She was born in St Just, Cornwall, spent her life in that area, St Just and Newlyn, and then she stitched this when she was 10. So I just think the colours and the shape of that whole sampler, I love. Love, love, love. So I will start charting her at some point, because I have started to chart, or will be starting very soon to chart, my Norfolk sampler. Now, I took my Norfolk sampler out of its frame. Now that was really, really nerve-wracking. Although she came out of her frame very easily. So this is Susan Steele. And let me show you what she looks like out of the frame. She's just sitting back in there. Now, this is what she looks like out of the frame. She is stitched on 56 count. 56 count. That's incredible. And what I did was, I should really unpick her off the backboard, but I'm really not sure that if I unpick her, that the actual fabric of the sampler is going to survive. So what I was able to do to chart her was, there is a hole already over here, and I was able to just peer in really good light down the back and see the motifs closest to, try and keep my hands off it, closest to the hole. And basically from doing that, I've kind of gleaned that the colours are probably 1 or 2 shades slightly brighter than the front. And you may have seen, and I've resorted to put them in a bag because I still can't find my hole punch. You may have seen on Instagram, I showed you that I had cut up my DMC chart. So now I have all these strips. What I will be doing as soon as I can find my hole punch is punching a hole through the top and putting them all on a ring, because it is much easier to try and match colours when you can put the threads right next to them. And that was an idea that Viv from the Vivsters had, and I'd seen it on Facebook, no, I'd seen it on Instagram and couldn't remember, and then she said, no, it was me. So, genius idea, and as soon as I can find my hole punch, I will be putting those back into one. But it made it so much easier, because I am going to need to do that for my next one. Now, I've bought another Schoolgirl sampler. Now, this is the one from the Fella collection. I obviously have a thing about Schoolgirl samplers. I think this one's incredible. Now, when I say it's from the Fella collection, it is from the Fella collection, but you won't find it in the book. I bought this one from Erna Hiscock, who bought several of the Fella collection when it was up for auction, and she was good friends with them, or is good friends with them. And this one was one of the last ones that Elizabeth Fella bought, so it wasn't in the book for that reason. And the reason I absolutely adore this piece is because it's a crossover piece. So samplers were, or could be used to teach mainly things like the alphabet, letters, numbers, that sort of thing. However, sometimes they were used to teach other things as well. And this piece has a geography context to it. It's not a map. This is Martha Faraday, her work, finished, spelled slightly differently, August 1803. Now, I don't know how much glare you're going to get. I'll try and hold it. So, I'm going to have to do a lot of work on early 1800s European political and geographical situation. So at the top, well, all the way around, you've got this gorgeous kind of strawberry border. And then you've got your alphabets. They're all uppercase alphabets, just slightly bigger. And then you've got this text. Now I'm going to read you the text. It says the chief countries of Europe are Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Russia, Poland, Prussia, Germany, Holland, Netherlands, France, Switzerland, Hungary, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Turkey. And then underneath it says their capitals are Bergen of Norway, Stockholm of Sweden, Copenhagen of Denmark, Petersburg of Russia, Warsaw of Poland, Königsberg of Prussia, Vienna of Germany, Amsterdam of Holland, Brussels of the Netherlands, Paris of France, Bern of Switzerland, Buda of Hungary, Madrid of Spain. And then at the bottom it says her work finished, with 2 N's. So I saw this and I just knew I had to buy her. I just think that is so interesting. So interesting. Now there's a little bit, I haven't had a chance to do too much research on Martha yet. There's a little bit of information on the back. So what it says, I'll read you exactly what it says. It says samplers formed an important part of a girl's primarily needlework education, but occasionally they cross over into their other subjects, and in this case Martha was learning the chief countries of Europe and their capitals. These crossover subjects are very rare. Martha was born in 1797 in the village of Wombridge, Shropshire. That's not easy to say. Let's try again. Wombridge, Shropshire. She married Henry Mason. They had one son, Alphonsa Francis. She died aged 57 in 1854. So there is actually another layer, I don't know if you can see, outside the border. There is another border at the top, which I'm guessing is mostly covered by the slip, possibly because the outer edges are just not in very good condition, but I can see enough of it. So this I just absolutely adore. Absolutely adore. And it's in a really good frame as well, the sort of frame that I wouldn't actually mind hanging on the wall. So no doubt I will get around to reproducing her. I already have a Dinky Dyes blue picked out, I think, for her. So I think I might chart her in silks, because she deserves to be in silks. Well, they all do, don't they, really? They all deserve to be reproduced and in silks. The other thing, I have bought another sampler, which, nobody's my bank manager, are they? No. Okay. Which I haven't shown you yet, because I'm going to keep her for my Black Sampler November release. I don't know if Jacob's doing it again this year, but I am. So for September, I will show you that. No, for November, I'll release that, but I'll probably show you her through October, because I shall be stitching her. Right, haul. Haul. Actually, let's do Freebie first, because it's in my pile of printouts. Or I hope it is. No, it isn't. I'll do 2 next week. I'll have to do 2 next week. I've left it somewhere. I can't even remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. I'll put a picture up of it. It was from Pinker and Plunk. Here we go again, I can't say it. Pinker and Punkin Blogspot, and it was a bee skep inside a jar, inside a mason jar, and I'll put a picture of it up because it was lovely. And I've shown you, she's done several of them, Melissa, in that mason jar. So I must have just forgot to pick it up the printer. So yeah, I'll show you that. Well, I'll put a picture of it up there, and I'll show you it next week as well, but I will put the link of it down below now that I've remembered. Okay, so haul. The woodpecker came in with the DMC. Now I get mine from Peakside Needleworks. I've already bought all the fancy floss, just because they started to put the fancy floss on their website a few months in advance, and every month it was getting harder to find those particular fancy flosses, so I just sort of went ahead and bought all the ones that I needed. So there's that one, and she will be the first one on the brown fabric, I believe. Now I'm a little bit behind with this. In fact, I'm a lot behind with it. But she's going to be, the woodpecker's going to be the first one that's on the brown fabric. It's so hot still. Right, I'm going to put those in there. What else did I buy? I'll show you all the Teresa Kogut charts that I purchased last. I bought this. This cost me all of £1. So it's a spoon. But in the spoon, I don't know if you can see, it's hard. Let me get it the right way up. In the spoon, there's strawberries. Now, the same month that Teresa Kogut did the Cherry Jubilee pattern, there was a couple of other, might be easier on the back, patterns which had strawberries in it. And I saw this, and for £1, I thought it might be fun to hang something off of. So yeah, just a bit random. And from the stitching haunt that is Aldi, I purchased, oops, one of these. It is a like a breakfast table, having breakfast in bed. Not that that's ever happened, but I just thought that would be, whoops, ideal for if I'm sitting in the chair, you can't see me doing that, sitting in the chair stitching, just to have that to put all my bits and bobs on, or even kind of next to me, because the back of the sofa claims so much of my stuff. And then I had a little spend up on Teresa Kogut charts. Now, as you know, I'm in the Patreon, probably because I mention it every week, and there is the opportunity to purchase previous Patreon charts. Now, I joined in January, so there are several charts that I like that I haven't got, and it seems to be that they're available to purchase for sort of 12 months, and then Teresa kind of then almost like owns them back, if you see what I mean, out of the Patreon, and she will probably release them. So there were quite a few that had come up or were coming up to the year, so they would be not available for extra purchase. So I thought I'd better get my backside into gear and grab them. So these are not the ones for this month's Patreon. Brenda showed those on Brenda and the Serial Starter this week. But I bought Harvest Tina and Harvest Ted, which were September and October Patreons from last year. So I bought those two. Now I don't intend on doing the border. I'm going to make those into a pair of stand-ups. So I got those. And I got Prim Witch, October 31st, which I really liked. And I got Onward Black Kitty. Again, this is from last year, which I think is just fun. I think I might even have a fabric to stitch that on, a fabric that I just didn't know what to do with. And so that may be ideal, actually. Good thinking, Batman. And then I purchased this. So every month Teresa does an ornament. The ornament's not included in the Patreon, but it's $5 if you want to get it. So I've got a few of them, but then she did this one, so I just had to get him. I'm really tempted to stitch the Santa and the stocking separately, and actually just give the Santa a little, you know, a little bit of a nubby body, and actually tuck him in to the stocking. I'm not sure, but I love that. And she also released the next few parts of the Strawberry Manor mystery. Now, I don't think she was intending to release quite this much, but she admitted that she'd missed out the Q on the alphabet, so she had to do a little bit of a rejig. And so she's just released the whole of the top row, which she says are parts... Was it parts 1 to 4? Or have I misread that somewhere else? I don't know. There we go. So that's what the top row is going to look like. And then the other thing I purchased is this chart, which is from September 2021, which is called Hello Autumn. Now, I'm not going to stitch that as it is. I want to make an autumnal drum with a squirrel on it. Sounds a reasonable thing to want to make, doesn't it? So I love that barn, and there's a squirrel on it. And so what I'm going to do is stitch that, not with the white pumpkin on the top, and then I'm going to pick a couple of other motifs so that I can turn it into a drum. Why? Why are you so obsessed with having a drum with a squirrel on it? Well, because of this. This may be one of the best things I've ever bought. Look at that. It's a candle holder. Nay, it's a drum holder with a squirrel. So he's holding up the acorn. Now, I bought this from TK Maxx for the princely sum of £5. Well, £4.99 actually. And I am absolutely in love with him. Now, there was a second one, and I'm almost wondering, actually, when I go to, I'm planning to go to another TK Maxx next week. So if they've got another one, I may very well buy another one and make 2 drums. Just look at that. It's amazing. Little things, eh? Little things. Right, that's me done, I think. There's probably stuff I've missed out. I'm just insulting the list. Yes, I'm sure there's stuff I've missed out. But we'll save that for next week. So I'll see you next week. Stay classy, Stitchers.